Fantastic. Okay, welcome everybody. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Christina Stanley. I am the CEO of Fictionary and founder. And today we have with us Karen Miller. And Karen is going to talk about navigating the new creative landscape. So, who is Karen in context of AI? Sorry. So, Karen, she's got a series called You Can Do This, and this is her fifth book in the series. She is the CEO and publisher at Open Door Publications. She is also a fiction author. She's does paranormal romances. She's written three. Another one is coming soon in 2026. So she has a ton of experience publishing and writing fiction and writing romance. So we're really thrilled to have her here today to talk about her latest book. And it's called AI for Authors, Navigating the New Creative Landscape. I'm going to put the link in the chat. And here's the cool thing. So today, for the next day, for us, it's on sale. And I've just put the link there. So I believe, and Karen, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's 99 cents US right now for the e-copy. So if you love what Karen has to say, please buy her book today. She is here out of the goodness of her own heart. And thank you, Karen, and over to you.
Well, first I want to thank Katie McWilliams and Kay Brooks, and I'm not sure which other people in this little group. I belong to a group, they call themselves the Awesome Authors. Several of them are Fictionary people. And Katie in particular introduced me to Christina. And Christina is interviewed in my book about Fictionary and about AI. And so I do want to credit my awesome authors, several of whom are interviewed, although there's others also. And I'm getting some kind of crosstalk.
Karen, I'll fix
Someone,
that. Hang on.
yeah, someone needs to mute. Um, okay. And let me say that the first time I heard about AI, my son works in developing AI, and he was telling me about this new program called ChatGPT that wasn't even out for the regular people. And his group was playing around with it, doing stories. And the stories, no matter what they ask it, the AI would degenerate into what they called hallucinations. But in this case, in the early cases, it would always degenerate into like horror stuff, and people would start killing each other, and it was bloody and gory. So that's a little known thing about early AI, which is only like 2, maybe 3 years ago. I was hearing about this, and then one day he came over and we started playing with it and letting it and make stories for us. And I didn't really understand AI. And then more and more came out, and I'm sure all of you went through this phase where you were like, AI, that sounds awful. This is terrible. This is going to take our jobs away. Well, what of the things I've learned is nope, it is not. It is not about replacing authors. It's about working smarter, sometimes working faster. It's about letting AI take over your non-creative stuff so that you can have more energy for the creative stuff. And I can't really see people's hand raising, but anybody who wants to put in the chat that yes, they've seen write a book in a week and earn thousands. It's like, yeah, put your hand up in the chat if you want. I'm sure you have, and it is a scam. You can write a book in a weekend with AI, but it won't be very good. And you don't want to put it on KDP because they will find you and get rid of you. And you don't want that. That will cause you all sorts of problems. But Amazon and Ingram Spark are now asking about your AI use. And I I worry about this. I have looked at uh, formats on, question places like Reddit and talked with other authors about what do you think about this? What does this mean? I Googled it, and according to all of the research, there's no penalty. If you are honestly writing a book and you put that you are using AI, there's no penalty from KDP or Ingram Spark. They are really looking for who's using what, how they're using it. It's a survey. Um, if you are using AI totally, they will find you and you will be in trouble. And occasionally they pick somebody out who has not used any AI and try to say it is. But we know that AI that Amazon in particular is its own little world in itself. Um, so if you are using AI, check the box. It does, unfortunately, the boxes have gotten better and a little more detailed, but still, I don't feel like it asks you enough questions on how you're using it. And when it first came out, if you clicked yes, you used it for the let's say research, but you hadn't used it for your cover, it was clicking it for both. Their surveys are getting a little better. So next rhetorical question is, how many of you don't think you're using AI at all? And I am going to say, I'm not even going to ask because I know there's a lot of you are. I see, yes. Do you ever, Richard, because I can see you, you're one of the few people I can see. Do you ever go into Google search? Richard Pulowski. Yeah, you can unmute.
Yeah, no, that's a different kind. That's a different kind of AI. But there,
Okay,
when you're
well,
talking
there's
about,
lots of AI, but
yeah, there's a different kind.
people
But
aren't looking at different kind. They're lumping it all together. Grammarly, which did not used to be AI, is now has an AI feature. Word has an AI feature. I am not fond of Word's Copilot. I think it's pretty awful. That's the nice way to say it. But you are probably using some form of AI. And we'll talk about some of these different things. So yes, you're already using it. And every time I move this picture of us from Zoom, my PowerPoint gets in the way, or it gets in the way of my PowerPoint and I have to move it. So you are already probably using it more than you realized. If you've used Canva, if you've used BookBrush, um, Adobe now asks you if it wants you to summarize. I've had it say, this looks like a legal document. Do you want me to summarize it for you? The last thing I want is my Adobe PDF to use AI to summarize a legal document. That's a step too far. I'm not ready for that one. So you're using it whether you know it or not. The one thing I want everyone to walk away with is knowing that AI makes mistakes. We think that that we've got the sci-fi thought about AI, and even Hal made mistakes. If you think about it, if you are a 2001 Space Odyssey person, but it does make mistakes. You need to double check it. One of the nice things when I use Claude, at the end of each thing it puts up, each answer it puts up, it says, Claude makes mistakes. Please double check. Words to that effect. The other thing I want you to always remember is AI is a tool. You're the creator, you're in charge. So don't feel intimidated. And at first, early users can feel that way. And I think I've got some very savvy users and probably some novices here too. So part one, understanding AI fundamentals. And number one and two on this are pretty much corollaries. Quality output equals quality input, garbage in, garbage out. And if you've ever heard garbage in, garbage out, you know if you don't put something good in, you're not going to get something good out. And this is very important because people have to learn to talk to their AI in the way that will get them the best results. AI is not a human. AI understands a lot of human slang or jargon, but it can get very black and white. So if you don't ask it something specific, I want to market my paranormal romance book. It's going to give you a lot of stuff, but you're then going to have to read through it all and find something that works, and a lot of it might not really be relevant. Please give me 3 specific items I can do in the next month to market my paranormal romance book. That's going to get you a much more specific, better answer. So give it goals. What can I do in the next few months? I need to edit this back cover blurb. I want it to be no more than 500 words, and please make sure you highlight X, Y, and Z keywords. So tell it what you need. Use role playing. I am sending out a press release. Please look this over and edit it as if you were the editor of a local weekly newspaper. Please edit it as if you were on a national TV reporter. You're going to get much better answers. And finally is in the basics, remember that you need to refine and iterate and reiterate for best results. Ask it a question. Now say, tell me more about this. Can you expand on this part of it? And even, for example, I was fooling around one afternoon. Friday afternoon, I wanted to feel like I was working, but I didn't really feel like working. And so I asked ChatGPT to give me a cover for my next book. And I put in a little bit of information. It gave me a kind of generic cover. So I asked it for more. I put some more information in, and then I like that a little better. And I ended up in half an hour, I got 7 different versions of a cover. They're all good. My opinion, and this goes to something I say about AI all the time, and when I work with people who are publishing a book, I tell them your book cover needs to look exactly like everything else in the genre while looking absolutely unique. And AI gets that absolutely like everything else in the genre, but it didn't have that spark that said this is unique. And that's what you get when you ask a human. So what will I do with that other than, yes, I was just having fun. I will send the ones of those that I like to my graphic artist when I'm ready and saying, I liked X, I liked Y. Can we do something that combines this? And he'll take it and make it eye-popping. And so AI is a really good way to think, when you're sitting as writers, we're always alone. It's another voice to get some input with. So AI has limitations, and we've already touched on this. Hallucinations, false information. It gives you false information with confidence. another story from one of my authors who writes history. He's writing a book about a Gilded Age family. And he found information in some newspapers about a specific ball, charity ball that had happened around the turn of the century. And he wanted to know if other events, similar events, had occurred that he did not yet know about. So he asked his AI, and it gave him 3 or 4 other similar events that had happened within a 2-year period. And 3 of them, he looked them up, and it was all perfectly correct. The 4th one, the more he looked, he could not find any other references to it. So he goes back to AI and says, I cannot find any references to it. And it says, oh, you are right. There are no references. ChatGPT doesn't apologize, but it does say, you are right. That did not happen. So check, double check, and triple check, because all of them, and ChatGPT is known as the worst, will give you false information with confidence. The next is a generic corporate tone. And that could be good and bad. If I don't feel like writing a business letter is my strong suit. So if I need to write a business letter, I'm going to give the information to ChatGPT or Claude and say, give me a business letter for this. And it will give me a beautiful, generic corporate business letter, which sometimes is exactly what you need. If I am writing a back cover blurb, I do not want a generic corporate tone. I have to be very careful that what it's giving me in that case doesn't sound like a business letter. So yes, if you're writing a press release, if you're writing a business letter, if you're writing something that needs that corporate tone, this is the place. You can polish one of those off in a minute or two, giving your brain a lot of time to work on the creative stuff and not having to spend an hour figuring out how to write that business letter that you didn't want to write anyway. Now, the third thing I have on this particular page is red flag words. And I have mixed feelings about talking about red flag words. Foster, delve, dynamic, yes, those are red flag words that AI tends to use a lot. And the other thing might be the M dash. You've probably heard that, oh, if you use M dashes, everyone will think that you are AI. This is not true. If you use M dashes all the time without putting them in the right place or really being careful with them, you might sound like AI. But if you are using your M dashes appropriately, if you are using the words foster, delve, dynamic, or the other 10 or 12 that I have listed, if you're using them correctly, that's fine. But that would be one of the things that it goes back to overall tone. If the end product just sounds like it said a lot of stuff and you really start to delve into what was said, and it doesn't say anything, that's when you start thinking this was AI. So, okay, now, and let me tell you a little bit about my book. I wanted to give everyone a brief summary of some of the AI things out there and what they can do, because there's so many of them. There's more every day. And I wanted to give a review of some of the most well-known. So that's one part of my book. That would be incredibly boring. So I have tried to use interviews and other information, interviews with people like Christina, who are involved in AI or who are authors who are using AI to give you an idea of how real people are using it. and then just some other general information on how you can use it better. So, practical tools for authors. We're going to start with the most well-known, ChatGPT. And ChatGPT is available basically from free to $200 a month. That $200 would be is if you are like a corporate team and you want to have 5 or 6 people using the same programs and sharing constantly. So you can do that for, in the under $50 range. Cannot remember all of the prices on all of these things. But you can start and you can, I believe, continue using ChatGPT as a free program. It has certain limitations on how much you can do at a time or how much you can do at a day, but you can start free with that. Flawed. Again, and I call my book the almost up-to-date guide because even as I was writing, things were changing. You cannot be totally up to date. Claude it is a generic chatbot, but it's also more of an analytical assistant. I see when I use them a lot, I see slight differences in the way Claude looks at the world versus the way ChatGPT does. It is free for a long time, and eventually, and this is over a period of several months, you'll use up your free messages and you will have to go to your minimum of $20 a month. If you pay for a year, you can get discounts. We'll talk a little more about Claude and we'll talk about privacy in a later section. Perplexity is more of a research tool. It's not just a general chatbot. It is also not going to analyze your story, your plot, those kind of things. But if you need deep research, like my historian that I mentioned, Perplexity is certainly a really good choice. Then we have Fictionary, and we can all clap for Fictionary. Pro Writing Aid, and Grammarly is similar. I'm putting it in the tools for writers, but Grammarly is different than Fictionary and Pro Writing Aid. As everyone here probably has an idea that Fictionary is something that helps you, it gives you writing tools, analyzes your writing. Christine, I'm sorry, I'm giving you the 1 second, but Pro Writing Aid does similar things, but it does not have the human element that Fictionary does. And Grammarly is specifically exactly what it says. It helps you with grammar. Is it perfect with grammar? No. Does it understand the difference between Chicago Manual, AP style, API? No, I'm not totally sure. I know it's not using AP. I know it does like the Oxford comma. Every grammar Nazi I know, and I am one, will disagree with Grammarly at some point. But one of the things I love it is to have it turned on when I am using my Gmail. It keeps me from making so many typos in my Gmail. It keeps me from making typos on the simple things that I'm doing so fast I don't pay much attention, which is a particular problem for me. Then we've got Quillbot, Language Tool, and Ginger, and these are a little more education oriented, and they also are really good if you are not, if English is not your first language, or if you are, say, if English is your first language, but you're trying to write in Spanish. They have a lot of translation features. Each one is different. Each one has things it's good and bad at. So you have to decide what you're looking for. But if you are looking to work in multiple languages, those are definitely things you should be looking into. So the writing assistant overviews. ChatGPT and Claude do a lot more than just assist your writing. They're literally things you can chat with and ask it, like, um, I'm planning a party for 50, and what are 3 recipes that I can easily make? You can use it for those kind of things, and whether you want to or not or would, that's up to you. Um, it's great for brainstorming. It's great for editing. It's good for research, with again that caveat of triple check any research. But Chat GPT, I'm working on this paranormal romance, and I have a plot between a werewolf and a witch, and I just want to talk to you about this, and you can kind of use it as if you get inspired at midnight and you can't call your best friend or your sister and say, how does this sound? It's pretty good. It's a pretty good backup plan. Claude is the same. It can do that kind of brainstorming. Um, I am creating this elven world in my paranormal, and I'm going to keep using the paranormal stuff because that's who I am. Think about 4 or 5 things I should include in my elven world, and it'll give me some things that will then take my thinking farther. Oh, there's that I'd forgotten about, and maybe this, and now Claude on privacy. Claude, when I wrote this, when I put together this webinar, which was even just a week ago, Claude had a reputation as being one of the absolute best for privacy. And then I checked into Claude and found that it was updating its terms of use. It was now saying that it is using certain things for research to improve its writing and its language skills. It is not clear to me from what I read whether anything that you put on Claude will be used. It's not clear how you opt out of it. I would be much more careful with Claude and not feel confident about its privacy. Don't put your whole book on Claude right now until we figure this out, until Claude figures it out and lets us know. And there are suits going on. There are a lot of class action suits about one with Chat GPT. I don't know exactly about others, about people who have had their stuff taken by an AI and used as a teaching tool. Again, if you are a nonfiction writer, or if you are a fiction writer who wants to do a lot of research into the area that you are writing about, Perplexity is a really good place to start. And then we've kind of gone over these specialized tools for story structure, grammar, and translation. I sort of went over those in that last slide, but again, that's Fictionary, Pro Writing Aid, Quillbot, those kind of things. Beyond writing. We all know if you really want to be an author, we would love, at least I would love, to only deal with the written word. And I always tell people, if it were up to me and I had to do all of the graphics for marketing and book covers for my books, they would all be black and white stick figures. That is my ability. And I've got to say, even using Canva and BookBrush, I am not much better. I don't have the brain that thinks about a great way to use it. I find Canva confusing. It does a lot of great things. If you're good with Canva, go you. BookBrush, I like better. I can make my way through BookBrush. If you are doing box sets that you want to put up a picture of a box set on your KDP site, they do it, and he does a really nice job. Canva and BookBrush, if you are not a graphic artist, Canva and BookBrush are the way to go. That's where you want to start. If you have some graphic skills, there's Adobe Firefly and Dolly. And anyone who uses Adobe knows that everything in Adobe thinks differently than the rest of the internet world. So if you are familiar with Adobe's Photoshop, with Lightroom, or any of the other Adobe things, try Firefly. I know graphic artists who use it and say it's really good. Dolly, I know graphic artists who use that and say it's really good. Adobe Firefly, if you have Creative Suite, I think it's available through the Creative Suite, and it's not that much more. Dolly, unless you are really good, you don't want to spend the money for Dolly. It is available in ChatGPT and Mage. I'm going to say Magi. It's mag.ai. I'm not sure the correct pronunciation on that. But you can get it. And I do notice, because of Dolly, ChatGPT does better at giving me some basic graphics than say Claude, which does not have that feature attached. Pictory AI is for video content. Again, you can give me the best AI in the world, and I still don't think I have the vision to create a video. If you do, that's the one to use. That's the one that seems to be, and there are a lot of tools out there. I've talked to videographers who tell me about great things that can be done. Well, we're going to go back and give another story on ChatGPT. One author who was trying to work with it to do a cover, and it put all of it was a period cover, and there were horses and carriages, and it put all the horses on the back end of the carriages. So there was the carriage and the horse facing the back of the carriage. So yeah, we're getting there. It is not yet ready to take over the world. That might be next month, but not yet. Legal and ethical. This we can talk a lot about. AI, if you use AI only content, you cannot copyright it. In other words, if you create an entire document, do no editing, do no changes, it is not available for copyright. It cannot happen. Human plus AI is copyrightable if the human input is substantial. I got this from a lawyer. She says, that word substantial, she's not sure exactly, how. You have to look at it at each piece individually and decide what is substantial. Certainly, if you ask, you're a little stuck. I know I have some things that I want to happen in chapter 12, but I'm not sure. So I'm going to talk it out with my AI and let it give me some suggestions, and maybe write me an opening line. And then you go on and you fill it out, and you flush it out, and you edit it. That is certainly substantial input. If you say, please write chapter 12, and then you just make a few word changes here and there, that's not substantial. How's anyone to know? I don't know. This is where we just hope everyone is ethical and honest. But if you are using AI and you are making substantial human input, you can copyright. You should disclose your AI use on Amazon and Ingram. You just don't know what will happen if you don't, and they decide that you have. Ethical considerations. This was something, when I talked with my lawyer, I found really fascinating, at least in New Jersey, where she's located. The Bar Association now tells lawyers that they need to be familiar with AI. They are expected to use AI in certain places. AI can do a search. She used copyright as an example. And it used to be to do a trademark search would take one of her law clerks several days and several hours to research. She can now put it into a specific AI program that is out there and have it searched in minutes. Now, then the law clerk takes it and does more work with it. But the New Jersey Bar Association is saying that if you're not using certain types of AI for certain types of things, you're actually not being ethical. You're not giving people the best deal for their money. That you need to be up to date on the technology so that you can advise them on it. So yes, there's actually good reasons for using it. Best practices. Be transparent. Credit your AI, just like in your acknowledgments, you talk about your editor who gave you a lot of help. You want to talk about your AI. You want to track your AI versus your human contributions. Now, does that mean that you have to have a clock on and keep time for everything when you are using for AI and when you are a human? No, but be aware that, if by some chance you got called into court, that you could say, well, I used it for, I worked 4 hours and I used it for half an hour. Or I worked 4 hours and I used it for 3.5, and I was only using it for myself for one. Those are things that you're going to need to be aware of as you start using AI more and more in your work. Now, the opposite. No AI used as a marketing strategy is this is becoming a new thing where some authors are putting no AI was used in this book in the front of their books as a way to market it. This is all me. It is all human created. And there are people out there who want that. And so if that is you, start putting it on your books. It is a marketing strategy. Don't put it on your books if you are using AI in any way, because there's the purist out there who don't want you to even look at it to check your grammar. So just make sure that that you are using it appropriately, but it could be your new marketing strategy. So key takeaways. We're coming to the end. Start small. I go over 30 or 40 different AI programs in my book. You don't need them all. You don't even need one in each category. Pick one or two, three at the most, and try them out. Most of them have a free trial. Magi, ChatGPT, Claude are all very similar. Do the free trial. Figure out which one you like before you put any money down. Then once you're comfortable with one or two, if you hear about something else you'd like, add another one, but don't try to do it all at once. Always, always, always verify your AI output. If your AI gives you information, double check it, triple check it, quadruple check it. AI makes mistakes. It is not infallible. Never forget that you're in control. You can ask AI to do something 20 times and it will do it. That's the good thing. I have one person I'm working with on editing right now, and she's either a perfectionist or doesn't know her own mind. We're not going to judge, but after she's asked me for the 20th time if I think something is right, I want to slam the phone down. But your AI doesn't. Your AI can, if you ask it to do things in 5 ways and you're still not satisfied, you can ask it to give you 5 more examples. It will never get angry with you. That is one of the nice things about AI. Um, but you're the one who's in charge. You can ask it for 5 examples of a marketing plan. You can ask it for 5 ways to write a sentence, but you get to pick the one or the parts of one and combine them that you like. You are the person in control, not your AI. Stay informed. It is evolving fast. And as I said, there are changes in Claude in the last 2 weeks. There have been changes in ChatGPT in the last month. They've upgraded and gone to a new iteration. They went from 4.0 to 5.0 or 4.2 or something. So it's evolving. A program that didn't do something well last week might be the best on the market this week. And match your tools to your process. Don't try to make Claude draw pictures for you. It's not going to. Don't try to get research out of Dolly. It's not going to do that. Pick the right tool for the right job. And final thoughts, AI won't make you a writer, but it can make you a more efficient writer. Human creativity and voice matter most. So use AI to get out those press releases and don't spend a day sweating over a press release. Do them in half an hour. And then you have the rest of the day to work on doing prose. Think about what parts of your job are not creative, but AI can do. And then you will be more efficient on that. And I will say, I wrote a summary of what I wanted to say in my webinar. And then I gave it to AI and it created this PowerPoint for me. And that would have taken me a few hours. And AI made what I think is a very pretty PowerPoint in colors I use in my branding logo. And so, yeah, did I really want to play around in PowerPoint, dressing it up and making things look good? No. I gave it the summary, I gave it the thoughts and put it into specific sections, and then it made it into a very pretty PowerPoint. Patting myself on the back here. Thank you. You can find me at www.opendoorpublications.com. You can find me at khmiller10@gmail.com. And I'm going to leave that up so you can look at it for a little while. And then I do have the picture of my book and the link, but Christina very nicely put that in the chat, so it's probably easier for you to pick it up there. So Christina, I've been seeing all sorts of comments come up. So can you help me with questions now?
I certainly can. Thank you for that, Karen. Ton of detail there. There's a whole bunch of things in here. So let's just do this first. Does anyone want to come off mute and ask a question while I search through all of the talk that's gone on here?
What are your thoughts on the AI detector tools? Like originality AI and that sort of thing, because they're notorious for false positives.
That's
So
what I've heard, is they are notorious for false positives. And that goes back to their detector tools. I suspect they're AI detector tools. They are programmed to look for certain things, for certain words, for certain things like too many M dashes. So I don't think they're really very good, but you have to be aware of them because you don't know who's using it.
Okay. I'm going to go to one that's right down at the bottom here for me to see. And Danielle is asking me a question. What's the AI policy for Fictionary in the free discussion groups and paid classes? Okay for brainstorming, but not writing prose. So that's a great question. So the only places we have AI within Fictionary are in Adwina and also just Ask Fictionary within our app. And so you always know if you're clicking that or just Edwina or just Ask Fictionary, that's where AI is coming into play. Anything else you're doing in our app is not AI, it's our own proprietary software. We designed it so it never touches your text. Your text is yours. You can use AI to ask it questions, to get it to help you analyze your scene, to give you information about your scenes. But you're the artist and the only one who can make changes to your prose that's within Fictionary. We don't use it for training. It's yours for privacy. My question back to you, Daniel, is I don't quite understand the part of the question for free discussion groups and paid classes. I'm not sure how you think we're using AI there.
Actually, it wasn't necessarily how Fictionary was using it, but more what were allowed topics. If somebody wants to write prose using AI and post about it on the Fictionary free discussion groups, is that considered, forbidden?
Nope. You can absolutely do that. So our main concern, we are an inclusive community, we're a kind community, and we want people treated with respect. So as long as you're posting in that context, we do ask people when they're posting their prose if we're a family friendly community. So please alter out the swear words or things that, that sort of thing. So if it's family friendly, it's done in a kind and respectful way. I think it's up to the artist to decide how they're going to create their art, and we don't want to make statements on that, basically. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Okay, then we have Keisha says, follow up on detector tools. What is your suggestion if you put your work into one and what you wrote is flagged as AI written?
Well, my question on the question is, is it flagging it for you, or is it flagging it for someplace that you were publishing? If it's flagging it for you, I would see if there's a way to ask it why. And yeah, I am not sure. I know that I'm hearing that people are getting flagged as AI by KDP, and then they have to fight about it. And we all know if you get flagged by anything with KDP, it's just the road to heck, since we are family friendly. But um, you have to go in and fight that, and I'm not sure how you do that yet. That is one of the problems that we have. It's not perfect. And
Yes,
Julia has her hand up.
I'm going to go to Julia in just one second. Bert wrote an interesting comment somewhere in the flow here about keeping versions of your manuscript as you write it to help prove that you actually wrote it, so you can show the different versions. And it reminded me when I was first writing and I was living on a sailboat and I would send my dad my email, my manuscript, so I had it saved somewhere else and not on our boat, that you think, I'll put that over there so that, if my Mac falls off the overboard or something, I have a copy of it somewhere. So I thought that was a really great idea. Julia, you've got your hand up. You want to come off mute?
Yeah, I wanted to talk about Edwina because it's my experience of Edwina is very. I started using ChatGPT. I tried pseudo write, like I feel comfortable around what those models do. Edwina feels different to me because it feels like it's very specifically trained on very specific texts. When I'm using it, I don't feel like I need to report to anybody that I was using AI. It feels like a tool that was built with AI. Is that just in my head, or how should I be treating that in the wider world?
Okay, great question. So with that, we design it now. Different laws, different countries, different company, so it's hard to make a blanket statement about any of this because, as Karen says, it's changing so quickly. But we designed it so that it's looking to the books that I've written or co-authored with Lucy, Linda, and Lisa, and so it's looking there to give answers based on your scene. And the way I look at it, it's like if you took your scene to your professor and said, "Can I have some input?" And then you go back and rewrite it. Or you go and read a bunch of writing books and all the knowledge is there and you go and rewrite it. And so you're really using it to gain knowledge so then you can go and change your work. And so we've designed Edwina that she's not allowed to actually change her work or write it for you. She's allowed to evaluate it based on our knowledge of story structure. And if she goes elsewhere, she should source it, basically, of what she's doing. So, we're trying to make it as safe as we possibly can and that it doesn't, we're not altering your text. So you didn't actually use it to write your text. Does that answer that, Julia? I've lost you.
I guess I'm not totally familiar with what they're requiring for disclosure. I know we've been talking about it, but it's not totally clear in my mind. Like I have been using some AI tools because I'm using Edwina and I'm using Grammarly. Do I disclose that or not? That's where I am.
And Karen, correct me if I'm wrong. I think Amazon, if you're publishing on KDP, they ask you specifically what software you're using. Is that right?
Yes, yes, it does. If you click the button, I have used AI in the text, it will ask you for that. And I have read that this is more of a survey for them to see, my kind of a marketing survey, what's out there, what are people using, and what do eventually they want to gobble up and own. That's my cynical addition to it. But yes, they definitely ask you what program you're using.
Yep, and I think it comes back to what Karen was saying earlier of how much is written by AI and how much is written by you. And are you using software that's correcting grammar and finding punctuation mistakes? Well, surely, like in my opinion, I think that's ethical. It's like saying you can't use Excel to add up a column because it's cheating. Well, of course you're going to use Excel to add up a column of numbers because it's there and it's easy to use. And that level of use to me seems very ethical. It's a tool like a calculator, which was a big scandal when it came out of we can't use calculators. Nobody will know how to add anymore. That's terrible. You're not going to have a calculator everywhere. You think, well, actually I am now, but that's okay.
And they probably said that when the slide rule replaced the abacus. So
Oh, there's a bit of that. And I think if you make your own ethical judgment, are you the author of this? Or did it go into ChatGPT and it just wrote it for you and here's a book. Right. And that's kind of how that's how I use AI. I use it every day for stuff, every day. But I love to be creative, and I'm sure that's why everybody is here on this call loves to be creative, and you want to create your own work, but I also want help doing that, right? I don't want to have to do all the drudgery that comes behind it that I don't mind asking for help, but I want the book to be mine or mine with my co-authors because I have co-authors.
We are pioneers. Like 2 years ago, we couldn't have been, half these tools weren't available. And which reminds me, does anyone want me to talk about, does anyone know what DeepSeek is? And do we want to talk about DeepSeek?
Well, now I want you to say what it is for everybody.
Okay. DeepSeek is out of China. It is like TikTok in that China, basically, if you put something into TikTok, the Chinese government may be looking at it. I'm not even going to talk about now it's been sold and all of that. I don't know. I can't keep up with it. But if you put something in DeepSeek, the government may look at it. And weirdly, if you use DeepSeek for research, it will not put up anything that the Chinese government thinks would be um, offensive to the Chinese government. So if you asked it about Tiananmen Square, you would be told that it is a square, a traffic square, and you would not get anything about the demonstrations that happened there 20 years ago or whenever it was. So yeah, that's one. It's supposed to be very good, but I would stay away from DeepSeek. I do know some people out there who, and some of the people I talked to for this are not out of the US. And I noticed the woman who was in Belgium was like, yeah, DeepSeek, yeah, I'll use that. We're more paranoid about these things, apparently. So I would just say, try not to use DeepSeek. If somebody tells you it's wonderful, say, no, I don't think that one's for me.
Okay, good to know. So Mandy has a very interesting comment, and I've seen a little on one of the book covers came the certification, but the Authors Guild has human authors certification. So she's put the link in the chat for anyone who's
Oh,
interested in that. It might be something useful to do a little more research and a little more study on what that is.
I did not know about that.
I'm gonna guess it's fairly new
Yes, yes.
that, if we think about everything that's changing in our world, and again, it comes back to, what's ethical and what's not when it comes to your own art. January 2025. Yeah, okay. So this year
Mhm.
new. Yep. Yep. And you can see why it's needed. And
Mhm.
really we're all just going to have to go with this and see how it plays out. It's changing so quickly that we're just going to have to follow it and see how it impacts all of us as
Yeah.
authors.
Mhm. Somebody said thank you, and it's 2:59, and so I assume that there's a lot of people who need to get off. So thank you all for listening to me. And yeah, I hope you'll take a look at my book. My email was there. It's khmiller10@gmail.com. You can always write me a question, and I do have a newsletter I put out. And so thank you all. Thank you, Christina, for hosting this.
You're welcome, Karen, and thank you. That was very informative. It's a big, big topic, and you covered a lot in this hour, and I'm sure everybody got a ton out of it. So thank you, and I'm looking forward to reading your book that I bought today.
Thank you. Okay.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
everybody.